Alrighty, so here we are, video two, Inauguration Day, unfortunately, or as everyone else should refer to it as Martin Luther King Day. Um, Initial reactions, thoughts, what are our feelings today?
You're telling me there's something else besides MLK Day? Like that's the we're just gonna go with MLK Day. That one was makes me less stressful or stressed. Um, the inauguration day. I think it's gonna be a long day. It's gonna be quick start. I think there's gonna be a lot it'll set the tone for the next 4 years very very quickly.
Yeah,
You can't. I mean, going straight from basically signing 100 executive orders apparently today. We'll see what they're around and what actually gets done today. But seeing that happen and then saying, "Yep, we got deportation raids on Tuesday, Wednesday." It's like that's setting a precedent. Um, and if they're already dropping hints about it and talking about it, I wonder what type of publicity they're going to go around it because Trump doesn't do anything ever quietly, especially recently.
yeah,
Now it feels like, this mandate they keep referring to, and it almost is like an excuse to do it, basically anything,
yeah,
it seems. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think it's a very strange pairing, the two being on remembering something. I think a figure that is almost a mythology around him in like the American sphere of just culture,
yeah,
and then you know Trump coming in with such opposite of MLK.
yeah.
I think that's just kind of what it feels like today. That opposites.
Yeah,
But
I agree. It's very odd to think that someone like MLK could co-inhabit a day with the inauguration of someone like Donald Trump, who has sought for nothing but division. Um,
mhm.
I I am personally interested to see if right away they start with mass deportation because I think last time we spoke about how um, you know immigrants were one of the big reasons why we were able to get through the labor shortage and we had a workforce for jobs that a lot of other Americans just didn't want to do. And seeing how big of an impact that might have um, either immediately or within the next couple of years, because sometimes it takes a little bit of time in order to actually feel an impact. Um, I'm also, I don't know. I'm all for, making sure that we have a legal means to get people here, and doing it the proper way. But we also need to fix the way that we have it because right now we just don't have an effective route for illegal immigration. It is just so ineffective and it's so long and so strenuous. I think the number one thing that we should start off with doing is granting mass amnesty and then going from there, trying to fix or at least fixing the problems and then grant mass amnesty. That way we actually have, a set in place system and we're able to go and work on things because I mean, there are millions of illegal immigrants within the United States. We can't deport all of them. That's just going to cost so much for the American taxpayer, and we're going to be the ones that have to deal with those ramifications. And then all of a sudden, Trump is going to blame how there was this huge all of this government spending is somehow Joe Biden's fault, even though he's out of office, and it's him who's the one that's actually, making or passing this legislation that's allowing there to be mass deportation and costing the American people so much. So I think it's going to be
Yeah,
interesting.
I mean, I think with the immigration, it's going to be a continuous jump back to well, Biden left open borders for me. Biden left open borders for me.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, not even discussing that Biden was literally deporting people as well.
Yeah,
Which is the thing that deportations don't necessarily make anything safer.
yeah,
There's no guarantee that deportations will get everyone off the streets who's going to commit some sort of violent crime, right? Like there's almost this correlation of narratives of that everything's tied to the illegal immigrants here, like the housing cost and things like that. And it's like I didn't know they were coming across the border and going and purchasing housing right there. Like I just didn't know because personally, I'm wondering how they're able to do that. Like I'm working on myself trying to get a house. You know what I'm saying? They seem to be ahead already.
Right.
Which I think, and that again, the concept that they're getting all these benefits and things like that have, I think, just angered people to such a drastic extent. But like a lot of it's just misinformation and
Yeah.
really, I think this created fear of the other in some ways, you know,
Yeah.
which is weird for a country of everyone here. Like at the same time you're saying that you literally came from another country or like you have family that came from another country or something like that. You know, like I feel like it's sometimes the people like Elon Musk or something like that where you're sitting there like, do you not you're part of that group too. Like you're in that too. Like that your immigrant applies to you as well.
Right.
Um, but yeah.
And he's like the least favorite kind of immigrant. He's from Africa, right? Like, you know. Um,
Yeah.
so I wanted to ask you about Joe Biden. Do you
Hmm.
think this is going to be a very hotly contested question that I'm sure you and I are going to have conversations about over the coming years? Do you think Joe Biden was a good president?
I mean, in top 10, no. In top bottom, no. I think one, like, I don't necessarily always view the morality just based on their presidency, too, right? Like, I think there's been some presidents who did some good things or policy wise, they were kind of good, but then, you know, as a who they were, they have been very questionable people, you know? I mean, like, multiple presidents had slaves and were probably slightly racist and things like that. Like those are components of who they were, right? And I think it shows their blind spots. But I do think there's this overreaction to what people feel like they think Joe Biden did or how he was. And it's basically that, you know, he's not even in control anymore.
Yeah.
And I think, if anything, the way the presidency operated and worked, I think it shows you that it was a Biden presidency. And I know that sounds like an insult from a lot of people's perspective right now, but I think he did a lot that was good in
Mhm.
certain areas. I mean, he did a lot of what Trump said he was going to do.
Yeah.
I mean, manufacturing was brought back significantly more. They were leaning into a lot of different new industries and kind of working and partnering with those people.
Yeah.
Um, but they were also not just partnering with those people. They were increasing worker rights and like being able to do it in a much more skilled way.
Yeah.
Um, I think when you look at like um, just different cabinet members and different members overall of Biden's administration, specific ones, I might add, usually away from foreign policy. Um, yeah, the domestic ones were, I think, pretty solid
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. But, you know, when your one goal was to bring back the soul of the nation and like challenge Trump, and then he's coming back to office right after you left, it doesn't necessarily look favorably now.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling that the next 4 years might just show a little bit more appreciation for how we where we were.
Yeah.
Some people won't see it like that, I'm sure, but I don't think he's going to be written down as like the most significant or the least significant, kind of in the middle somewhere.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I think that Biden was a good president. I think to your point about manufacturing jobs with the Chips and Science Act, bringing manufacturing jobs right back here to the
Mhm.
States. And then you look at things like the infrastructure bill, that was a bipartisan bill. Um, so there were a lot of things that he did domestically that I thought was great for the United States and us as a society. And I agree with you. I think that because Trump is coming back into office, it might not look favorable right now. But I think the issue with that is that when it comes to presidency, it's almost a popularity contest, right? Like Donald Trump has always been relatively popular amongst Republicans. And he has a base that is willing to kill for him, that's willing to die for him, that's willing to do anything for him, and without question, which is scary to think about, right? Like you look at January 6th, and you look at Ashley Babbitt, who died trying to, you know, storm the Capitol because Donald Trump decided to say that he decided to be a sore loser and say that he didn't lose the election and that it was being stolen from the American people. There's things like that where it's kind of like kind of hard to comprehend because like I don't know anybody that would do that for Biden. I don't know anybody that would do that for Kamala Harris. I don't know
No,
anybody that
I
would do
mean,
that
and
for
that's
anybody.
the thing. The attitude towards Biden isn't just from like it's. I'm not just talking about Republicans, or I'm not just talking about independents or anything like that. I'm talking
Yeah.
about Democrats. Democrats will talk to me and be like, Joe Biden, he sucks."
Yeah.
But even some of the recent actions by the Republicans or by Trump or by different figures, for example, with TikTok, TikTok was viewed through a lens of, Democrats
Yeah.
who a lot of Republicans voted for it. A
It was
lot
a
of
bipartisan bill. Yeah.
yeah, a lot of
And they
Republicans
still hold the House. So that
and I think it should the fact that one app created that much of a fervor when it was banned. I mean, I think it indicates a little bit of a concerning need. You should not need a social media app as a lifeline. I
yeah.
was were telling me that they weren't going to have any more recipes and they weren't going to know what to cook. What do we do? There's other apps. There's other websites.
Yeah.
Like there's also there's also books. We could
Yeah.
go old school, but I think with that it shows one kind of the reliance on technology. I think, but also uh, them blatantly saying that, oh, this is because like basically we're working with President Trump. He wasn't president yet. And, I get it. It was one day, but at the same time, they basically just, Donald Trump said, ignore the law. Even though that's kind of what Biden even indicated. He was like, I'm not going to fine anybody. I'm not going to do anything because, but the pushback had been so severe against the TikTok ban now
Yeah.
for, I think, some just reasons. I mean, I don't think they really never ever fully showed what the issue was with security. And,
Yeah.
I have questions about Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk having data. Um,
Yeah.
but it's like, I think it shows you that there is this just capitulation to him already. And I mean, the media had already begun to talk about President Trump as if he was the president getting things done when Biden was still the president getting things done, like the
Like the
ceasefire.
ceasefire. Yep.
Even though, what is a ceasefire when Israel bombs right after that?
Yeah.
And what's a ceasefire when it's, oh, but you have a green light to go to war continually if you need to?
Yeah.
That's not a ceasefire. That's a gun against your head. Like it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And especially to praise it like that. But I mean, obviously, there are components of the ceasefire that I think were beneficial and really strong. Just getting hostages homes and things like that. But um, you know, the, that act or that deal had been on the table for months
Yeah.
from Biden's team. Unfortunately, Biden is never able to convey anything or explain it. And the thing is, people don't care about your cabinet official describing something or anything like that. They need you to be the advocate for it and be able to tell the story of how it's impacting them or helping them. And I think that's always been Biden's struggle.
Yeah.
Speaking, being able to convey the skills that he has, or
Yeah.
what he's been able to do. Um, and I think he's not the only one. There's very few skilled politicians who are just able to tell the story of the policies that they do and land well. It's just very few.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, heck, Trump doesn't even actually do that. He goes on random tangents and tries to grab words that I think that he has another word in his mind and then he can't articulate it or figure out what it is. It's like right on the tip of his tongue. So he goes for something else like huge. And
I
so
think, yeah. I mean, with that, I think Trump's ability to deliver